Hakuto No Ken, released by Arc System Works in 2005, is a traditional 2D anime game inspired by the Fist of the North Star anime series. With high damage and fast pace, Hakuto No Ken is a game where each character has their own special moves. But the game wasn't just released outside arcades and PS2, nor was it released outside of Japan. Maybe one day we can see him return and join the ranks of anime warriors. Tatsunoko vs. Capcom was launched in 2008, and in general Capcom vs. franchise bringing together characters from various classic Capcom video games as well as Japanese animation studio Tatsunoko, which has hosted many iconic series such as Speed Racer and Science Ninja Team Gatchaman. The game was released exclusively in arcades and Nintendo Wii. First Capcom vs. game with 3D graphics, Capcom vs. games are now known. First released for PS1, Rival Schools is a 3D fighting game developed by Capcom in 1997 and is one of the least known fighters developed by the company. Featuring a school-based setting and a memorable cast of students and teachers from rival schools, the game was never re-released or ported outside of a PSN exclusive port to Japan in 2012. The HD version of Rival Schools could potentially do wonders. Reviving the series, something Capcom is considering is that Akira, one of the most popular members of the roster, has been confirmed to appear as DLC in Street Fighter V. Another underrated Capcom fighter, Powerstone, is a cult classic that only debuted on PS1 in 1999. Very different from a traditional fighter, Powerstone is a slightly hectic 3D arena fighter with dynamic combat environments and usable items. Since its release, Powerstone has been one of the long-neglected games Capcom has released. Lots of developers can do this well, so we can only hope it gets brought back. Although the JoJos Bizarre Adventure anime has different games, it actually released the lesser-known 2D JoJos Bizarre Adventure fighting game in 1998. It's about the characters from Stardust Crusaders. Although the game was made digitally available for download on PSN and Xbox Live Arcade in 2012, it was delisted only 2 years later. As the JoJo series is more popular than ever, there is no better time to remake the game in HD than now. Sailor Moon S is a Japan-exclusive Sailor Moon fighting game for the Super Nintendo that has gained a cult following in recent years for its absurdly strong cast and salt-making nature. Unfortunately, it's far from the most accessible game to play, given that it's nearly 30 years old, never released outside of Japan. Another fighter with roots in the SNES, Webilord is a weapon-based 2D fighter with an incredibly metal aesthetic. Released in 1995, the game is home to many excellent mechanics such as parry attacks and even weapon durability. As a lesser-known release, Webilord has never received any sequels, remakes, ports, or remasters. There are a lot of great fighters on the SNES, so it's a shame that this hasn't been touched since. Despite its popularity in the 90s, Capcom's Darkstalkers series has fallen into silence in recent years, with the release of Darkstalkers 3 in 1997. While the game received a port in 2013 in the form of Darkstalkers Resurrection, Darkstalkers is the perfect game for a graphically updated re-release like Super Street Fighter 2 HD Remix. Super Smash Bros. Melee is a fighting game where some of the most devoted players on the planet continue to stick with it despite the release of newer games in the same series as they prefer the melee mechanics. This has resulted in melee players needing to use outdated technology in their tournaments for years and even resorting to creating their own way for players to play online games. While other developers like Capcom and Arc System Works frequently re-release old games on newer hardware, this is Smash Bros. It never happened for the series. Perhaps throwing a bone to melee players could allow the game to be played on Nintendo Switch with online capabilities. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is one of the defining games of its era, inspiring several fighting games that followed it, and having been on Evo for many years, it's currently unplayable for most players who don't have it on original hardware. The Dreamcast and PS2 were all released in 2000. The game was tentatively available on both Xbox Live Arcade and PSN in 2009, but was removed from both services in 2013. Capcom Infinite has destroyed many fans' faith in the franchise's future. A remake of one of the series' most beloved entries might be just what it needs to get back on track.